Hi there. I'm Kim Berry, editor of Food and Drink Business. We're a trade media platform talking to the food and beverage manufacturing sector. Today, I'm joined by Cameron Gordon from Incite, and we're going to talk about Malaysia. Hi, Cameron.
How are you, Kim? Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm very well. So my understanding is that Malaysia is a big market and there's lots of nuance to it. That it's got lots of different factors at play that make it a very interesting export opportunity and challenge. Is that fair?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite interesting market. There's really three ethnic groups in Malaysia. You've got the native Malays, you've got Chinese Malays, and the Indian Malays, and because there's such large populations of all of them, you've got a very diverse culture. So and if you love food, I mean, if you go downtown KL, you've got Malaysian food, you've got Chinese Malay food, you've got Indian Malay food, then you've also got a Middle Eastern feel to it as well. So if you like food, I mean, KL's a fantastic place to go. In terms of it's amazing. Look, because of especially Malaysia is a Muslim society, and because of that, that the halal topic comes up a lot. Obviously, it's part of the culture, part of the religion, part of life. So, brands that are looking at the Malaysian market, especially, if they're looking to target that more mass end of the market, really do need to take that halal piece into consideration. If you're selling in, if you're a gourmet dairy brand selling in gourmet supermarkets, there's a major question there about whether halal certification is really needed, because you're not really catering to that demographic. Whereas if you're trying to sell products through Starbucks or through McDonald's or through large hotel chains where a lot of these kitchens are halal only kitchens, then you need to take that pretty seriously. So what's important about halal is ticking the boxes around having the right certifier, because only some halal certifiers in Australia are approved by the halal authority in Malaysia. So while you may be halal certified, your halal certification might count for nothing in Malaysia. So it's really important to look at that. And one tip that you really want to take into consideration is whether to print the halal certification logo on your packaging or not, because if your halal certifier falls out of favor for whatever reason with the halal authority in Malaysia, and you've got 100,000 units of that certifier's logo printed on your packaging, it can cause you some problems in trade. So compared to a lot of other markets, that halal issue is, halal is important in Singapore, but not as it is for food service. Indonesia is very important, and Malaysia is very important as well.
Right. There's a lot to unpack there, isn't there? It's not even just about certification. It's about who and their role, their place, their profile. It's that's really interesting. So I know you mentioned the three sort of main sort of cultural groups. What about the economic sort of environment in Malaysia? Like, what's that like?
Challenging. I mean, Malaysia's had quite a number of I guess political issues, especially every time we seem to go there, and we have for the last 12 years for business, there's a new different issue, there's a new prime minister, or so on and so forth. But to some degree, that's caused a number of economic challenges, especially on the currency side. The currency has significantly devalued over the years, and the challenge that's caused, of course, is the ability to pay for Australian goods, right? So if they were buying it on a much stronger currency 5 years ago, and now the currency's worth much less, that certainly does cause more challenges. But look, while it does come with its challenges, all markets do, I think I really do feel that Malaysia In comparison to some of the more mature markets such as Singapore and Southeast Asia, there are a number of reasons for looking at Malaysia, versus, some of the more mature neighbors.
Okay, and so what would the top three reasons be?
For looking at Malaysia.
Yeah,
Look, I think, we talked about for Singapore the duopoly that exists in Singapore with the two major retailers and the challenges that can cause. Also, the
yeah,
openness of the market, right? That the openness which leads to intense, competitive environment.
yeah.
But which is interesting in that, especially around that metropolitan KL area, you've got a really diverse grocery sector, whereas in Singapore you've got, say, two or three grocers that are relevant for imported products. In that metropolitan KL area, you've got perhaps 7 or 8, and they're all very defined in terms of who their demographic is. So the benefit of that is that you can be a bit more targeted around,
Mm,
who you're going after from a consumer perspective, depending on where that consumer obviously shops.
yeah.
And the other aspect is obviously it's led to much greater competition amongst the retailers. So the cost to trade with those retailers, whether it's margin or whether it's the listing fees or the compulsory marketing funds, much more affordable and much less gouging, let's say, than in the Singapore market. So I think
Yeah.
brands that don't have the appetite for the investment that's required in some of the more mature markets could perhaps be pleasantly surprised by the investment required in the Malaysian market.
Okay. Are there particular products that are more popular or more successful entering that market than others?
Look, I think, again, I think if a brand can get the fundamentals right around, the price positioning, the marketing strategy, the distribution, I think there are generally good opportunities across most categories. Snacks and confectionery have done well for us in Malaysia. There is a healthy demand for sweetened and perhaps not so healthy snacks. We've found in Malaysia. We are, though, on the flip side of that, really seeing an emerging awareness of health. So, that functional foods and beverages category is growing. There's a much greater awareness now than there was when we started. But I guess that's the case in most countries about, the advantages of living a healthier lifestyle when it comes to, food consumption and also exercise and the like. I think, another opportunity is competitively priced products that are catering to the local Muslim Malaysian population. Obviously, to cater to that population, they're going to need to tick the boxes on that halal certifications, and so that's going to be important. And the other one that's done very well for us over the longer term, which seems a bit strange, is wine. We've got a really great
Okay.
wine trade into Malaysia, both on the kind of let's say price fighting wines as well as some more premium wines. And there is a population of very well-heeled, well-resourced wine drinkers that have a good appetite for New Zealand and Australian wines.
That is not something I expected to hear you say, Cameron. And so, if for an Australian exporter, would you sort of advocate to prioritise heading into Malaysia?
Look, I think it has its pros and its pros and cons, like any market. I think
Yeah.
from the pros perspective, that diversity in grocery, large population, the fact that the investment required to enter the market is not as hefty as it is in other markets. Those have all got to be pros, right? I think.
Yeah.
On the challenges side, from a regulatory standpoint, Malaysia is not Singapore. Singapore is very open, very regulation friendly. If it sells in Australia, it will sell in Singapore. in Malaysia for general grocery products, that's really the case. But the halal consideration, it does require attention, I think. Right. Also, the economics of it as well. Singaporeans, when it comes to disposable income, are much better resourced than Malaysia generally. So you got to weigh all these things up, I think. But Malaysia definitely doesn't get as much press as Singapore, but it is a market that should definitely be looked at and investigated, based on what we've discussed today.
Yeah. That sounds like there's plenty of opportunity for those that are looking to get their products into an overseas market, for sure. Well, Cameron, thank you very much. And we shall reconvene at another time for another country, and you can expand my knowledge and everyone else's as well. Thanks, Cameron.
I'll do my best, Kim. I'll do my best. Thank you.